What's up? This is my first interview back at 12-ish years. I couldn't be happier with being with none other than my boy, not Jake. Uh, I guess the first thing I'm gonna ask you, just because you're not in New York anymore, you told me you're in Florida. I probably could
Yeah,
ask you about like the culture, about all the happenings and whatnot down there. But I'm just gonna ask you, how's it like to be away from the cold weather?
mind being here because I do like missing out on all of that like ice and snow and stuff. But I've heard you guys aren't even having that bad of a winter anyways, so I'm really not missing out.
Yeah, it's been pretty mild. I'd say probably the lowest. Oh, we had like a few snowstorms or whatever that happened, but it weren't anything like too big. I think the coldest so far it's gotten down to is like 12 degrees, maybe like 10. I don't know.
Yeah,
Wasn't too bad.
see, I
I
have
mean, it
not
sounds
had any.
bad or whatever to anybody probably listening to this, but it's kind of mild, I guess. Not really mild. Let's say probably the mild would be like 30 degrees, 40 degrees. But that's also kind of like spring weather too.
But it's not too bad. It's. I mean, like it has its ups and downs like anywhere else, really. But it's for me, it's the hardest part is because right now I don't have a car, so I shot down here and like I came with a bag. That was about it. I came with a sea bag full of clothes,
Nice.
and that was pretty much it. So yeah, having come down here and ending up in the place I've gotten to end up and going to do the things I've gotten to do and meet people and stuff like that, it's all definitely been like I've been moved to places. It's not something that I never would have come to Florida for any kind of permanence except for if I was sent here. So I was sent here, so it worked out.
We'll start off with that, asking you why you chose not Jake as your stage name, your musician's name, or your
So
project name. Oh,
it's actually got like three layers to it, right? So
yep.
like top tier, my name is Jacob, not Jake. So like that was, really surface level right there. But then like so what really kind of brought this into fruition, and I'll kind of expand on all of this, but like I'm a Christian rapper, so like that's definitely like that's the foremost of all of this.
Okay.
So there's a verse, Galatians 2:20. It says, "I've been crucified with Christ, and I no longer live, but Christ lives in me. And the life I live in my body, I live by faith in the Son of God who loved me and he gave himself up for me." And 2 Corinthians 5:17 says, "Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old's passed away; behold, the new has come." So I'm not who I was, therefore I'm not Jake. But also my name is Jacob, so it's a preference thing too, as far as like my name is Jacob. So
Oh, okay.
um, and at, and at first it was like the name of a YouTube show. I remember that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I remember that one.
yeah, me and Stowe and a couple other guys put together. Uh, Shout out to BMB, by the way. Bernie, rest in peace, bro.
Ew.
But yeah, so the show was some me and some friends put together for a couple of episodes back in my early 20s. We called it the Not Jake Show. So that was long before any of this was even a footnote like in my life. I wasn't thinking about this. So yeah, like I said, it's like a triple entendre, pretty much.
Oh, okay. All right,
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah, I guess that was going to be kind of a another question or whatever. Like, I might as well just touch on it now since you kind of brought it up a little bit. Uh, so you said you're a Christian-based rapper because I know like there's a metalcore band I'm still listening to them periodically or whatever. But uh, the Devil Wears Prada, they were I guess in early on in their career they were always pegged as a Christian band, but then like later on they basically like came out and said they're like they follow Christ or whatever, but they're more or less like a band full of Christians. Just so happens, I
Yeah,
guess, that they mention or make references, to like God and stuff like that in their music and stuff like that.
and that's it. Like my basis is like obviously like my who I am is yes, I'm a Christian, but like as far as the music is concerned, though, it's like I'm a hip hop artist, and the basis for any kind of art is going to come from inside the artist. Like
Yep.
that's this you're expressing is who you are, what you understand, your worldview, your experiences, your whatever. Like everything's going to flow out of who you are. So to label it would be Christian hip hop art, like a CHH is what they typically call it. But like, um, yeah, it's that's the basis of it though. Is like this is who I am, so this is who I'm expressing in my music.
That was pretty interesting. At least when I first met you, you were pretty much like a just like a random guy that played harmonica. I never knew
Yeah,
anybody that played harmonica. And then you pretty much like progressed, I guess, as like a musician. You like started playing more stuff with like drums. I seen you play that stuff at like open mic nights. I think you played bass too for a little bit, didn't you? Yep. So I guess my question is, what led you into hip hop, doing hip hop music? I know
So
you kind of. I remember before I've seen you like dabble with a little bit, like out at Fun on the Farm and stuff like that, or whatever. Like getting on the mic with like Bernie and them guys. But
yeah, so
yeah,
like so like what happened was like hip hop was never really the plan. Like I just messed around with like freestyling with some friends and who were actually rappers, like you're saying, like Bernie and John and
mm,
Quince and like all the guys. But like I couldn't really write anything. I tried for a while. Like I used to write poetry in high school and like sometimes I'd jot down some like sappy lyrics and stuff. You've seen some of those blues songs I come up with, um, but by about like 2015, I was pretty much done with trying to write music because I was pretty much sick. I was sick of writing the same like sappy, uh, just depressing kind of music. Like just
yeah,
nothing
it
was
gets
really
old
new.
after a while.
Yeah, it's just like okay, well, this is all I'm really able to come up with. This isn't very fun. So like, and it was always surrounding like my relationships and stuff at the time. So I'm like, this is never changing. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not even like it's not going anywhere. So like, why bother?
Hmm.
Um, but so then in doing that, also like a big writer's block had like set in. And so at that point, it also like writing was how I like access my emotions. So shutting down the writing, putting up the writer's block that like cleared me of being able to access my emotions effectively. So
Right.
like then like a decade later, in pretty much the same month about that I surrendered my life to Christ, I was overcome one day at work with like a desperate need to write everything that I was thinking and feeling, and it ended up pouring out. I had the notebook. I forgot to grab that, but it poured out like 2 full pages of just bar after bar after bar of just everything that was like in my mind that I was processing at the time, and it was just a lot of rhymes and different like imagery and stuff like that, and it was just it hadn't ever happened like that in a long time. I say ever. It hadn't happened in like that in like over 10 years.
Yeah.
Um, so like suddenly I had full access to my emotions. I was able to express myself again, and even better than I had at any time previously. So like this, it was just a beautiful moment to be able to sit there and really like open myself up. So in doing that, it was like I said, writer's block lifted, access to emotions, all that stuff. So, and like it came out in hip hop form, which is again, I tried that once when I was like in my early 20s. I tried writing hip hop, came out absolute trash, and I was like, I don't belong doing this. I'm never going to do this again. Left it off, and so like at this point, it clicked. It was like God definitely just gave me a gift. Like so,
Hmm.
like 3 years later, the first piece of evidence would be this EP. Like this is where this ended up. So there's definitely like it wasn't my plan at all. It was his. So this is where I'm at. I followed it to its current place. An EP, a music video, Florida. Like it's just this is the weirdest thing ever.
Okay. That all usually most people when they start rapping or they have like the interest in rapping, they like I guess like develop their style over like so many years. At least obviously I've known you or whatever it was like
Yeah,
I haven't seen you in like actually seen you in like 3 4 years maybe
I mean,
somewhere around there. Yeah, say or I guess a little more astounded I guess that you're able to develop a pretty good rhythm and cadence like in your music. What sort of like stuff do you I guess you want to say like practice or do to I guess like develop that? Because like I said, most people it takes them like a while to develop something like that. So it seems like you picked up on it pretty quick.
so I think that you probably know this, but my dad was a professional drummer. So I grew
Yep.
up listening to rhythm all the time and like subdivisions and subdivisions of subdivisions and all that stuff. Like all this stuff is just ticking in my brain at all times.
Hmm.
So time I pick up an instrument, I'm thinking about all that kind of stuff, just anytime at all. So when it came to writing, like I said, I'd had a poetic background in like high school and stuff. And so I understood things about cadence and like how to write out patterns and syllables and stuff like that to make that make sense. And then imagery has always been a thing, so that was a big part of it. Um, so when it came to hip hop, like the way I developed was really just listening to it a lot, a lot. And I started when I was like, I don't know, like 12 years old. The first album I really like gravitated towards was the Chronic 2001, Dr. Dre.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was pretty banging
Like that
album from
was
front to back.
oh yeah, like all the way through that thing was crazy good. I
Mm,
ended up pretty much memorizing every track and like um and that was over time. I was like into my late teens as I ended up finding a tape of that at a job that I used to work over at like that pawn shop. And I found a tape and I popped that thing into a tape player that I also found at the pawn shop. And and I ended up just wearing that thing out, just listening to it all the time. And so like it just all that stuff got in my head. And so that's kind of where the beginning of this stuff developed, was just messing around with that. And then from there it's been listening to just more and more like grittier, more in depth, more lyrical, like all that kind of stuff. That really built out because I was really into poetry. So like that stuff, I gravitated towards that a lot.
yeah, it always goes hand in hand with each other, hip hop and poetry.
Yeah, like Biggie and Tupac, and like those are some pretty big names. I don't want to name drop obvious ones, but like
Yeah.
Khalid Kweli and like Black Thought and like just monster storytellers. These were the guys that I gravitated towards. So like Common and all that other stuff. So um, in doing that, it helped to develop my style and my just my picking up on rhythms and groove and all that kind of stuff. So it was just finding my way into that place, and everything else would just kind of it just fell together, kind of a thing. Say it
All right.
fell together, but it clearly like
Yeah.
it was brought together. Like
So all this guy basically just came naturally for the most part.
yeah, pretty much. Like it was. That's not like I said. This isn't really like this wasn't my like I'm gonna be a rapper someday. Like that never crossed my mind. I just wanted to learn how to freestyle with some buddies. Like that was it. My
Oh,
Ronan, he's out there doing his thing, and he
yeah, I still
definitely
see
had a
him
lot
or
to do.
pop up or see some of his stuff every once in a while on Instagram. Like see like a random like song or whatever that JP like shared of his or something.
He's doing great. Like he sounds phenomenal, and I'm pretty stoked about it. Like he actually he and I lived together for a while
Hmm.
in town, and uh, like he so part of the deal was like teach me if you live here you got to teach me how to freestyle. So that's like for like hours every couple of nights or whatever we'd sit down and we'd run a beat going crazy loud and then we just start coming up with stuff and he was really good at it so it helped me to be able to get a little bit more confident at letting it happen and just seeing what came out so yeah
Almost like a
and
form of currency or whatever that you really can't I guess like buy,
yeah
I guess.
the real barter system, like teach me a skill and yeah, this is a place. So
You guys, the bartering system is pretty in full effect. You can get some use out of it. Not everything has to be about physical or paper currency or digital currency, whatever you want to call it. We
yeah,
we could still
exchange
trade for useful things.
trade art and food.
Yeah. Yeah, there's was it one guy, Tyler Soderquist. He does
Oh
that
yeah,
free art thing or whatever. He'll just like randomly be like, "Hey man, I'm dropping a piece," and he'll just like post where it's at, and then whoever finds it finds it. I think that's pretty cool. I actually got one of his
yeah.
pieces on my wall.
See,
And
between
found.
him and Stowe, that town should be painted 10 times over. Like
Oh yeah,
they gotta, these
yeah.
guys.
It's kind of nice
They
to
gotta,
see I guess the whole arts or whatever coming into fruition around here at least for a while. It just seemed like it was just I don't know. Town didn't really give a crap, I guess you want to call it. So I guess I'll ask you this question. You mentioned Stowe and all them guys. Do you still do you work with them guys? Or are you working with like another producer right now? Like who makes your beats?
so the guy that I worked with here in Florida, that was Kenny Cables Ramos or Ramos. I'm not really sure how to say his last name. I think it'd probably be Ramos.
Maybe
But
Ramos, yeah.
he's a producer from actually up in Brooklyn. And
Oh,
so yeah, but he's been through the circuit. He's been doing music and production and mastering all that stuff for a long time. So like he's made his whole career out of it. Then he stepped away for a minute and came back. He's been just producing and making music and dropping beats and all that kind of stuff. So he's just been grinding away as you'd expect. Um, and so a friend of mine actually here, my friend Nestor, he introduced me to Kenny And then I left for a couple of months, but I stayed in touch with Kenny. So when I came back to Florida, I was like, "Hey, I'm here. Like, do you still want to work together?" And he said, "Yeah, like we'll set up a time to meet up and all that other stuff." So he ended up taking me on to make the beats and all that stuff. He did all the mastering, engineering, the beat making, all that stuff. The only thing that I had any part in was writing the lyrics and then speaking into a microphone.
Probably makes the process
So,
a lot easier, that way you don't have to worry about juggling a bunch of stuff all at the same time.
and like I don't know how to do any of that other stuff anyway. So, but he was the one who made the whole all 5 songs, all the beats for that stuff, and the production, everything about it. That was all him. And then Stowe actually, he was the one who made the beat for Wish List, which I was talking about earlier.
Okay.
Um, he made the beat on that song a
That
couple
guy's
of years
pretty
back.
underrated as far as like his beats go, man. He's got some pretty
Yeah,
pretty heavy hitting stuff.
that's why I'm trying to work with him some more and get some things going here. So we're gonna see how that stuff works out. But right now it's in process, so we're gonna see what happens.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
understandable.
but yeah, he put that beat together, and then Christian over at let me see if I can think the Woodshed um, over on Marcy in that Marcy building there.
Oh, here in
He's got
town,
a
talk about Christian Morrison.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I
not
know who you're
Morris,
talking about.
not Morris, Christian Shank.
Oh, okay, never mind. I think talking about Christian Morrison. Okay.
He but he opened a studio over there, and he also does like music education lessons and stuff like that for the kids and stuff. So yeah, it's
Nope.
yeah. So Christian, he ended up. It was his studio that I got that beat and everything. I recorded vocals there. Excuse me, and Stowe had made the beat, so he brought the music over, and then Christian took it, mastered it, did all the stuff to it, and then I released it from there on DistroKid.
Nice. So you still pretty much have like ties to at least working with people around here, even though you're obviously not around.
Yeah, absolutely. At least I try to. I mean, I still keep up with Ronan a little bit, and keep up with Stowe a bit, back and forth, just trying to maintain these relationships because they're good people, good
Yeah,
friends. So I want
yeah.
to make sure that I don't like drop anybody just because I'm out here in Florida. Like, well, those are
Yeah, I
still my
say with this
people.
day and age with the hustle bustle of basically just like hustle. I don't want to use the word hustle culture, but just like the busyness in life or whatever. Sometimes it's always hard. It's hard to stay in touch with people.
Yeah, no, it could definitely be a strain. So like, I try, I do what I can. You know, I step up, step out. They do too, so it's cool.
But the type of we're gonna call it like the mentality we have around here in the music scene. At least I don't know if it's still the same way before, but I know like back then, at least with some of the people that we know, kind of have like more of a, DIY like style of like implementing things. Like as far as like with like you want to learn something, you pick it up, you learn it or whatever. You don't really I guess have like you don't let limitations stop you. Stuff like that. It's kind of one reason why, not necessarily the reason why I do this or whatever, but like one of the reasons that I guess like mentally why that opened me up to stuff like this or whatever is like, oh, I could just like, or I could just like, pick it up and do it. I don't have to worry about, learning all this stuff. I don't have to go to college, don't have to do anything, blah, 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 or anything like that. All that good stuff. But have you taken some of that mentality down there with you and applied it, or are you like learning like a whole new set of like way of doing things? I guess tell me about your process in that.
So as far as like writing and everything, I shifted from writing on paper to writing into my phone. So I have a most people would have like a rhyme book kind of a thing. I have um I have probably like a gigabyte worth of stuff, maybe more, I don't know, but it's like I've written into a giant note section in my phone. So then that way I just have everything like lines and stuff like that have come to mind or like chunks of verses and spoken word poetry and all sorts of stuff. I've written it out into that. So like my process is basically if I think of something, I try to write it down in that thing, and then it's just there. So then when if I need it and I have a word in mind that's at the top of my mind, I can go back, type it into like a search bar or whatever, and then see if I have other things that fall into that area, and it kind of sorts out my brain for me, so I don't have to try and keep this stuff in there.
Nice.
So that's part of my process anyway. Not having a piles of notebooks is super helpful when I have a phone that just carries everything.
Yeah.
And then as far as like learning how to do this stuff on my own, I mean, like I have BandLab. I use that to record pieces and try to put stuff together by doing that. That's how I practice to be able to how I practiced in order to be able to actually write those songs that I was writing, and I put the beats into there, and then I just made a note or whatever and started writing my lyrics out and all that stuff. So I
Yeah.
mean, there's a process. It's still kind of scattered, I guess. Um, it's about as scattered as I usually am when it comes to trying to organize myself. So
Yeah. Understandable.
yeah, but I haven't learned how to do like production stuff just yet. I'm really hoping that eventually I'm going to actually get into that and start making that happen, but we'll see what happens. Trying to take baby steps, I guess. Try to get the writing process down and the recording process and meet the right kind of people to be able to help me move this along and stuff. There's definitely been a solid couple of people I've met here that have pushed me along, even when I was like, I don't know if this is for me. I don't know if I should do this. They're like, no, you definitely need to go ahead, keep going. So
Any producers or anybody in the future you want to do any sort of collaborations with that you have in mind?
there are definitely a lot of artists I'd like to work with, but they're all that professional level, so I don't know.
Oh, talk
Um,
about like, or I guess I'll say, do you have one at like a regular, like a feasible level that you want to work with
yeah,
anytime soon?
yeah, yeah. There's this guy nearby me. There's a couple of them. There's Roderick. I can't think of his last name right now, and I feel so bad at the moment. But there's Roderick, there's Velpe, and there's Justice, also known as Ivan Medina. Um,
Also, I got like a whole collection, or I don't want to say like collection, like you're collecting people or whatever, but you got like a whole like bunch of producers and stuff that are like around in your area.
yeah, there's definitely other artists, there's other producers, all that kind of stuff. Like I'm in West Palm Beach, so I mean, like it's definitely a
Oh,
main
okay.
hub. But yeah, I don't know. There's this other guy, Proverb Newsome. I'd like to work with him. There's another guy. What's his name? Uh, is it Peasy? I can't think of his name at the moment either. There's a handful of people, but I can't think of all their names. But like going above that, even like people on that next level up, I guess. There's like Stephen Malcolm. There's McCrae, um, Bizzle, like Sail Out of the Corner is another guy I'd really like to work with someday. AI the Anomaly, another person. Sean Burgundy, that'd be great. Um, yeah, there's a bunch of people I'd really like to work with, but we'll see what happens.
What has been your reception so far with like some of your friends and like your fan base and stuff like that with some of the releases? I think it's probably what your well, like the music you've been releasing has pretty much been like your actual like official like stuff you put out into the what do you call it, like the aether, the public, to everybody. So what has been the feedback been like so far?
It's been really good, honestly. So there's other stuff that I've got that I haven't put out yet. And so one of them in particular, it's a song. It's called Jacob's Ladder, and it's basically like just kind of how I got to where I'm at, and just the stuff that I've dealt with and things like that. My testimony, basically, but in
Mm.
rap form. And so I got to do that one in Missouri for like a few months at a time, like for a bunch of performances out there for like a talent show that they were holding all the time. Because I worked at a like a gospel centered youth camp for like inner city youth. And it was like a
Hmm.
sports camp, and so I worked out there for a few months. And while I was there, I got to perform for a bunch of people, for like the kids and for adults. And the response back on that was phenomenal. So like I'm really wanting to get that one done and like put it into professional like status and all that, but it's Stowe's beat and I need to get those pieces together to be able to like do that one because I want to use his beat so bad. It's such a good piece. So I'm really got to find that on his computer at some point. So I'm gonna have to bother him some more about that.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, it's it's a good song. It's gotten a lot of good feedback. So that's unreleased, but that one is what got me moving into some pretty cool stuff. And then not to like name drop, but Lecrae, he just recently like he's a pretty large, pretty big name artist. He's at the forefront of like Christian hip hop, and then also he's doing well in the mainstream as well, and all that kind of stuff. So, but I had a chance to show him that song, and he was like the first like real stamp of approval kind of a thing. Like this is somebody who knows what they're talking about, and he was like, you need to start releasing music. Like you need to get going on that, and obviously if it's good, it'll
That's something
rise up.
coming
But
from a
like,
big name, you know?
yeah, and he was saying like, you know what you're doing, so like keep doing it. I was
Yeah.
like, that seems like the right answer. That because he said if I sucked, he would tell me. Like he said he hears people all the time that he's like they're not good. You should definitely do something else. But in my case, he was saying like, no, no, this you know what you're doing. You're doing it right. You're doing it well. Like you have this. So like keep doing it. I mean, you got it. So that's what brought me back to Florida to sit down and make the album. And well, EP. It's only 5 songs, so it's not an album yet, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, I lost track of the question, but somewhere in there, I'm pretty sure I answered.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much was the aim of the question anyway. So is this kind of like the vehicle of I guess like artistry music that you're going with right now, or do you plan on doing like other I got like other like types of projects and stuff like that, like music wise
Well,
in the future?
as it stands right now, this is definitely like this is the vehicle. But I mean, I was a musician first, like you were saying. Like I played. Let's see, first instrument was bass, and then everything else from there is bass, drums, harmonica. That was a big breakthrough in and of itself. Um, and like percussion and uh, some keyboard stuff like that. Like, so I love making music, and I would love to actually sit down in a studio and like build the beat out from the ground up and turn that into something. Um, but as it stands right now, that's not quite the option. So um, while I don't get to be a musician in that sense, I do get to be an artist still, and I get to write and develop that skill. So um, that part is pretty dope, and I'm definitely going to keep doing that regardless. But I would like to be able to do stuff with actually making the music and actually sitting down and putting the bass lines together and putting the drum pattern together and all that kind of stuff. So um, maybe in the future I'll get to do more of that, but right now it's just going to be talking into a microphone rhythmically and poetically. So
Path you're going on right now. Let's see, the one that's board's pulling you. Sort of stuff can we look forward to in the future coming from you? Do you got any projects? Do you got anything, going on? Just let us know what you got going on in the future.
so right now I don't have another release ready to go yet, but I'm still writing stuff. I'm still putting things together. I have an opportunity to speak at a men's mental health event that some of those guys that I was mentioning, Velp and Ivan and Roderick and a couple other people, they're all putting it together. And so they offered me an opportunity to speak on that and write a spoken word for that. So
Nice.
that's something I'm doing. I'm going to turn that spoken word into a song. I'm working on trying to get a beat together. That's where I was saying I'm in touch with still trying to get him to build beats with me and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um, and so I'm going to try to get that from him and then record that and release that as like a single. So we'll see how that goes. Um, and then let's see. So I have a plan for at least another EP in the near future. I'm just not quite sure how near. And I'm still trying to move this thing around and get some steam under it. So far it's been pretty. Like I said, it's been decently received. I haven't really heard any like negative feedback, except for like 2 times somebody left like a mean comment kind of thing. But that was after
It seems like
sitting there
that's
for
the thing
so
with the
long.
internet now. You have to, worry about the random, rude comment coming towards you, even if it's for no
Yeah.
reason.
And it was even like they weren't even like that harsh. It was like somebody just basically saying like you should stop. Or like, okay, I'm not. No worries, I won't. But thank you.
Like our user 53 29
Yeah,
Dirtbag Dan, I'm gonna stop because you told me to.
like,
My
God,
career is over with.
he doesn't
All right,
like it.
guys, I'm
Well,
hanging
that's
up
it.
the mic.
We drop it. That's it. Never pick it up again.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry for interrupting you.
Oh, no, you're good. So yeah, just I'm slowly working on the next thing. I'm just not quite sure what the next thing is. But I'm definitely still in the running here. So I hit the ground running already. So I'm just going to keep having to go and build that momentum. So um, I can't stop now. Now that I've actually made a dent, like I can't just drop it. So here I keep going. There'll be
Yeah.
more. There'll be more. I I really enjoy doing this. Like it really is super fun getting to make hip hop and stuff, and like having people that respect it and stuff. That's crazy. Because like even initially, I was not in that realm of like, oh yeah, I should do this. Like I said, this was not my plan. Um, so like yeah, it's super humbling to get an opportunity to do this and have people that have been doing it, who've been working at this for their whole lives and stuff, and being like, you got something, and you should definitely keep going. It's like it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. So I'm very appreciative and very humbled by the opportunity. So I'm not going to stop by any
Oh,
means.
heck yeah. I guess it's been a lot, or it's been like a long road of progress I've seen since, like I said, I saw or said earlier on in the interview that you've came from a just a random guy I saw that played harmonica because nobody ever plays harmonica around here. Not saying it like in a bad way, in but it was just like a vehicle, you use to get you to learn how or be used to like basically learn how to do music and stuff like that, like on your own and all that. And it's crazy to see your progress so far or whatever. So I was pretty blown away by listening to
Yes.
some of your the music you sent me or whatever. I was like, wow, he he's got quite a bit of skill for not doing this for too long.
Yeah, it's only been like not even 3 years, not even three, like 2.5, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
Like the first song I dropped, like that I wrote and dropped and everything was 2021 or 22, 22 I think.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, it was just kind of an out of nowhere. Like I was at a housewarming party and I was just feeling some things. So I went outside to listen to a beat and then I got this bug in my ear to start writing. So I started writing stuff, and I still have a little notebook that I wrote that in. But that was wish list. So I wrote the first half while I was there. The next morning I got up and took another 3 hours running the song and writing the rest of it out. And then by the end of that, I had a song, and then I had to go back in and start messing with it, making it actually sound good. So
Yeah.
um, but
Part of the
yeah, it was
process.
it was it was like a 2 months to actually write that song out, get the beat together, all that stuff. And Stowe was the main uh, mover in that. Like I literally all I ever do is write music. We did help we like collaborated on the beat and stuff like that. Like I said, a musician first, but like he was the main guy on all that stuff. So the reason it sounds good is because he um, graced it with his ability. So
Yeah.
some
Ways for
sausage.
people to check you out, like as far as like their socials and stuff like that. You got like Instagram, Facebook, and all that good stuff. Do you have like an official like music page people can go check out your stuff on? So get or
Yeah,
tell people where they can look you up at.
I it's going to be under Not Jake. On Instagram, it's like Not Jake 315. On TikTok, it's Not Jake, Naught, because Not Jake was taken.
Yeah.
uh, and then on Spotify, Not Jake. On YouTube, Not Jake. Um, so I think I'm on iTunes as well, on Amazon, all that jazz. Um, and then a bunch of like foreign stuff like Deezer or something like that. So, like DistroKid dumped me everywhere, so I don't even know where like half the places are. Um, so there's that. The album, the EP rather, it's called Can dot dot dot. Because there's more to come after that. There's definitely some more coming. So,
Oh, okay.
but yeah, YouTube, Amazon, iTunes, all that jazz. Not Jake. Um, so yeah, yeah.